You're not bleeding. And I'm like, let me up. And he's like, I'm not letting you up. And so I finally just kind of gave in because I'm pancaked on the ice with like 3 or 4 guys on me. And so I'm just laying there and I can feel people hacking me. And then I found out later, it's Phil still hacking the back of my legs as I'm on the ice.
Next, we were going to talk about fights.
Okay, welcome to episode
X
of Dropping the Gloves with John Scott. So, I've had a lot of people request what I talk about, and it seems to just always come back to fighting. And I know we touched on it in an earlier episode, how I talked about my preparation. I talked about, how I thought about fighting. I talked about, just the stuff that goes into fighting, but I never actually talked about the actual fights. And I actually had a great idea of calling all the guys who I fought, and I still might do that just to see their take on it.
Like, are you mad at me?
Because I ran into a couple of guys who I fought, and I'm just like, man, we should sit down and talk because you're great guys. Everybody, is, for the most part, really nice, and, it's just a job that we did. But I thought we'd delve into a couple of the fights that I had that were the most popular. The fans, I always get asked about them. And that have a little bit of a backstory to them. It's not just like, hey, let's fight, let's go. So the one that I get talked about the most, and we talked about in previous podcasts, and people always ask me about, was the Phil Kessel incident. And
that was a preseason game, wasn't it?
That was a preseason game. I think that was my second year in Buffalo, or maybe even my first. I can't remember. But I remember coming to Buffalo, and they had just been pushed around. They were a very small team, and teams like Toronto and Boston, they had really big teams. Toronto had Colton Orr and Fraser McLaren. Boston had Chara, Lucic, Thornton, and they were just bullying the Sabres. So I came in there, and I felt like I had to create an identity for our team. Like, you're not going to mess with us anymore. Mm-hmm. And so it was the preseason, which is always, a feeling out period. You don't really like to fight if you're established in the league, and I was at that point. I think it was my 4th or 5th year. So it's not like I was trying to impress the GM or the owner. So we go into Toronto, and we bring a pretty small team. There was me, and we had another guy, Drew Bagnall, who could, hold his own. But other than that, no one really who you'd be worried about. And Toronto had a tough team. They always dressed a tough lineup. They had Jamie Devane, Troy Bodie, Fraser, the defenseman. I think McLaren might have dressed that game too. So they always had a tough team. And going into the game, pre-game warm-ups, I pretty much talked to all the tough guys. I said, hey, if you're going to fight, like, fight me. Don't fight one of the young guys. Because
it's like a conversation you have as you're skating around.
You see, I'm like, I know the guys who are looking to fight, the younger guys on their team, and they're going to make, trying to make an impression on their team, GM and whatever, coaches. And so I'll just, I'll see them in the red line. I'm like, hey, if you're going to, go somebody, look for me. Because I don't want you beating up my young guys, because I know you would kill them. Mm-hmm. So, you just say that, and hopefully they listen. But anyway, so the game starts. I get an assist. We score. No big deal.
No NBD.
No big deal. And so I'm on the ice. That following faceoff, they throw out their 4th line. And I look across the centered out faceoff, and it's my right winger is Corey Trop, who's a feisty kid.
Were you playing D?
I was playing forward. I was left wing. And so he was my right winger, and he lined up against Jamie Devane, who's 6'6", 230, and tough. And so those two start jawing. I'm like, oh, don't fight, Corey. As soon as the puck drops, they fight. And Jamie Devane beats the doors off my guy. Like, just, takes him behind the woodshed and just does a number on him. And breaks his jaw.
Oh,
my guy's out on the ice, like, for a while. And so they had to get the trainers. I don't think they stretchered him. They might have. But he's out for a while. And the whole time that they're tending to my guy, I am fucking losing my mind because I was so upset. I did not want that to happen. I told him, you can fight me. Like, let's figure this out.
That was one of the dudes that you had
That was one of the guys because
yeah.
I knew he was a young guy. I knew he wanted to do something, and we didn't have anybody to match up with him other than me. and I would have beat the piss out of that guy without a doubt. So I'm stewing and I'm losing. I'm staring at Devane in the penalty box. I go by their bench, and this is after like 3 or 4 minutes, and they had Carlisle at the time, and I'm just staring at him. I'm losing it, and he said something. He's like, "What are you looking at?" And I just lost my mind. I said, "Nothing, you fat."
Expletive, yeah.
And then so this goes on. I'm yelling at their whole bench. Like they had Clarkson was on their team, so he was an instigator. He's chirping at me. I'm chirping at their whole bench. And the refs come in and calm us down. And I finally say, "Whoever you put out next to me, I'm going to beat the shit out of. Anybody." I said that to their coach. I said, "Anybody you put out, I'm jumping them and I'm going to fucking kill them." Mm-hmm. And so next face-off goes up. We're the visiting team. I go out there and I'm just salivating. I'm so upset. And I don't usually get mad like on the ice. I really don't. Like I'm pretty even keel. It takes a lot to upset me, and I was very upset. And so I'm just like licking my chops to see who he puts on the ice. I'm like, I want to fight, and I don't usually get that like that. And then Carlisle gives me this little grin, and then he sends out their first line. And I can just imagine what's going through their head as they go on the ice, because I am like Red Ross, or I'm just like, oh my gosh. And so he sends out Kessel, like, and a bunch of skill guys. And I'm just like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? And they're coming over to the face-off dot. And I'm like, okay, I got to do it. And so I tell,
back it up.
I told my wingers and I told my D-man, I said, heads up, I'm going to jump this guy and it's going to get ugly. Like it's going to get.
Did they try and talk you out of it?
No,
Like,
they couldn't
John,
talk me out of it.
on.
I was beyond being talked to at that point. My coach was even like, "John, you're coming off the ice." I said, "Nope." I just went lined up because I was so irate. We had a rookie coach. I felt bad for him. He got fined like $10,000.
Yeah.
Because of that
He
incident.
couldn't keep you under control.
No. And so the puck drops. Before the puck drops, Phil lines up beside me. And I respect Phil. He's a great player. Like, I know he's not a fighter. So I said, "Phil, I'm going to jump you. Heads up." And he goes, "What?" And then the puck drops. And I throw my mitts and I try to grab him. And he takes a step back and just starts hacking me. And he's hacking my shin pad, so it's not a big deal. And I'm trying to grab him. And luckily I didn't grab him because I would have really killed him. And I see at the corner of my eye, I see their D-man coming towards me and their other D-man coming towards me. And I think their centerman's coming towards me too. And so I see their one D-man at the last second. I turn and I crank him in the neck. He goes down. I get tackled.
Did you the trachea?
Yeah.
Did you collapse?
I heard it go like that. And then I get tackled by everybody.
Yeah.
And so I'm on the bottom of this scrum, and I have at least one ref on me, 3 players on me. And I'm still trying to get up because I'm like, I know we're outnumbered because the ref's on me, and I hear the fans are going nuts.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm trying to get out from under the scrum, and the only thing I can think of is to pretend I'm injured. And so I start screaming, I'm bleeding, to try to get the refs to let me up, to think I got cut. And I'm like, I got cut by a skate. And they're like, "No, you didn't. You're not bleeding." And I'm like, "Let me up." And he's like, "I'm not letting you up." And so I finally just kind of gave in, because I'm pancaked on the ice with like 3 or 4 guys on me. And so I'm just laying there, and I can feel people hacking me. And then I found out later, it's Phil still hacking the back of my legs as I'm on the ice. And that was like the start of our rivalry. Like, I got our goalie into a fight, Ryan Miller. He had never been into a fight. He fought Bernier. A couple other guys like popped their fight cherries that night, and it was fun. I still have guys coming up to me.
That was the best.
Like
yeah.
Mike Zigomanis, I just found out was on the line with me that night, and I totally forgot. And he's like, "That was my only fight, and I got beat up pretty good. Thanks for that." And I was like, "Don't you feel better you got into a fight?" So then after that game, we fought with Toronto every single time.
Really?
And it was great. Like we fought Colt Nor, another
series.
fight. I lost 2 fights decisively in the NHL, and that was one of them where I knew going into the game I was going to fight Colt Nor or Fraser McLaren. And Fraser would always try to fight me. And this time, me and Colton paired up. And we were going back and forth, throwing. It was a great fight. I think I was starting to get the better of him. And he hit me right in the stomach. And just the life just got sucked out of me. Everyone's gotten the wind knocked out of them one time or another.
Right in the diaphragm.
Right there.
Yeah.
And I don't wear any padding there. And I just lost. I couldn't breathe. And I just dropped to my knees and and as I'm on my knees, I get punched in the face again.
Rocked you right in the face.
He hit me right in the face. I said, "Come on, man." And I get up. I just was smiling. I finally caught my breath. I had to sit there for a couple seconds. I'm like, "You son of a gun. And I always wanted to fight him after that, but he never fought me.
Never fought again.
Never fought me, which was, smart by him. But
Yeah.
I always ended up fighting McLaren. And I loved it. Loved those rivalries. It was just such energy. You knew going into the game was like, here we go. Like, this is going to be a good one.
They're rivals anyway, right? The two
They were
teams?
always Buffalo
Yeah.
and Toronto. It's because they're so close
They're
together.
right there.
Yeah. I remember in Buffalo, they wouldn't sell tickets to the Toronto fans because if
shit.
they would be all Leafs fans.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And I grew up I grew up hating the Leafs. I still do. I grew up going to the Sabres games. So yeah, I was always into that rivalry. It was
Did
great.
you have any rivalries like that with fights all the time in Chicago?
Well, St. Louis, we'd fight a lot with them. I'd fight Cam Jansen, but they were never exciting. Like he was a tough kid, didn't really open up. He's just like a small guy, so they called him Barney Rubble because he was small, muscular with a big head. I think he might have did steroids, but I don't know. And he just would not. It wasn't fun to fight him because I'd punch down. He'd wait till I was tired and try to hit me with one, and then that was the end of it. So. The only other one I think in Chicago was the Kevin Westgard fight.
Yeah.
He was with LA, and I remember going to that game. He had really been beating guys up really, really bad, and I was super nervous because I hadn't fought much that season, and I really wanted to do a good job, do my job right. And we scored. We went out. He came after me, and I just grabbed him in the right place, and he couldn't get a hold of me, and I just really did a number on him.
Oh, yeah, he's
to the
all
point
bloody.
where
I remember
I
that
stopped.
picture.
The refs were like, "John, stop," because I had him up against the glass, and I hit him with one, and I could have kept teeing off on him. I think he was a little out of it, and I could have really, really did a number on him. And the refs were like, "Stop, stop, 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 stop," and they stopped. So, and he's a good guy. I've met him before, and the code and everything. You got to respect. You don't want to hurt anybody. So. That was the other one where he was.
Man, he was bloody.
He looked like
You broke his nose, didn't you?
a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a smart guy. He went to Princeton.
Sweet.
Very smart. Him and George Peros, who I fought a bunch as well. Those two guys were like geniuses.
Your hat.
Violent gentlemen. Yeah, George representing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
Well, you went to Michigan Tech.
I went to Michigan Tech, got an engineering degree.
You're an engineer, John.
I get asked a lot, "Are you going to ever use your degree?"
You probably do.
And I probably won't.
You solve problems all the time.
I do. Like how to wipe when your thumb hurts. But no, I don't think I ever will. You never know. I get asked, people, "Come work for my company. Like, just you won't have to do much."
What do most dudes do that were not big stars? That were not.
I was not a big star. It's tough. I just talked to my one friend the other day. He worked in construction.
Yeah.
He got divorced and just kind of lost everything, and it's super sad. He lost all his money, and now he's working construction, and he's dating some stripper.
Sweet.
So yeah, he's done well for himself.
In what city? Can you
Chicago.
share? Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he lives in Chicago. I played with him on another team.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's tough. Yeah, it's you never know what you're gonna do, and I still don't know. That's why I'm doing this shit. See if this works out. And I like doing this, which is great.
But you got a movie coming out, John.
Movie is still in the works. I still, don't know what's happening. I talked to them a couple weeks ago because I'm trying to start a TV show. Me and this guy are working on a little project, and I had to get the movie people's okay, and they're like, "Yeah, as long as you don't, use this footage or this and that, you can go ahead and do it."
Sweet.
Yeah. So moving and shaking.
What about fights in San Jose?
There wasn't many, I don't think.
You're just that was when you were a nice guy.
I really chilled out.
Did you
a lot.
find when you had kids that you started to stop fighting? You didn't fight as much?
Yeah, no, I don't know. Because I pretty much had kids my whole career, right? So I just think once you get older, you realize you don't have to fight all the time. And no one asked me to fight. Like I only turned down 2 or 3 fights my whole career, and I can remember them vividly.
Why?
Jody Shelley, I was playing for Chicago in San Jose. I turned him down because we had just scored and we had a face-off in the offensive zone. And lo and behold, we win the face-off. Bernsey takes it, wires a shot off my ankle, almost breaks my ankle, and they go down and almost score. And I was like, okay, I probably should have fought. That would have not happened. And then another time I turned down a fight. Gosh, who was it with? It was versus somebody we had just scored again, same scenario. They were trying to get their team going. And I said, no. And then they scored. And so that's why I always said, never turn down a fight. Because something always happens that's bad. And so but people never asked me. I think I was more of a deterrent than an actual fighter, which is fine. I didn't enjoy fighting all the time. But yeah, I didn't fight much when I was done.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
Sweet.
I always used to try to beat someone up first couple of weeks, and then the guys would see that and just try to, stay away from it. Yeah.
John Scott.
So do a number of the first few fights. And it is what it is.
Well, cool.
When have you been in a fight, big boy?
I've never, not one, ever. Nope.
Really?
Nope.
The mean streets of Richmond?
Nah, I just talk a big game.
He does talk a lot of shit.
I do. I'm a big shit talker. But that's why I have neighbors like John Scott.
That's true.
So if I piss off other neighbors, John, you're in charge of like the neighborhood watch.
I know. We have a couple neighbors right now who are on edge. We got to watch out for them. We're not going to get into that, though.
It's another podcast.
That's another podcast for another day.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good stuff. If you guys
It's a good podcast.
want to talk about fighting some more, I'm sure we'll do it. So
Send in your questions for Big John.
yeah, at bigjohn.com.
That's not it. That's not your website. That's probably a different kind of website.
Don't look up. Don't
John's-
search bigjohn.com.
John's other website.
All right, John. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John. All right.
Larry.
That was good.
You're not bleeding. Let me up. He's like, I'm not letting you up. And so I finally just kind of gave in because he's literally, I'm pancaked on the ice with like 3 or 4 guys on me. And so I'm just laying there and I can feel people hacking me. And then